Hey guys, I hope you aren't feeling too blue today. Wow, 5 seconds in and I already hate myself. Hey guys, it's Julia. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a continuation of the color series. I really hope you guys aren't getting tired of this one yet. I still have a couple left that I'm wanting to do.
Purples.
But today I wanted to focus on blue eyeshadows. Obviously I'm wearing a lot of blue eyeshadow right now. And I think last year we had a big trend in the beauty community of like neutral palettes with a pop of blue or just a pop of blue in any palette, and I thought it was really interesting to see a lot of people really embracing blue eyeshadows. But you really see a lot of blue shimmer shades and not a lot of brands like to approach doing a blue matte. Just in general, blue mattes can be pretty hard to do just because they can get really patchy when you blend them out. And I've had my fair share of really bad blues, but I also have a lot of good ones. Obviously, I am wearing a blue eyeshadow look today. The details of this look will be down in the description box. Top is from Fashion Nova. The necklace is from a boutique called Happiness Boutique. Super cute accessories. I really love their like dainty jewelry, so if you're into like dainty minimalistic pieces, I think you'll really like them. I've rambled too much. Let's dive into the blue. So my favorite blue shadows by far have to be from the Morphe James Charles palette. Actually just my favorite colorful shadows in general. If you've been watching the channel for the past like month or so, you know the drill. In here of the 39 shades, you are getting 6 blue shades, so it's a pretty sizable chunk of blue shades in one palette. Shimmers are fine, they're not really anything that special, but I'm mostly wanting to focus on mattes in this video, and the 3 blue mattes in here are insane. Blue shadows usually, when they are pigmented, they tend to be harder to blend out. These are some of the only blue shadows I've ever used where I haven't had to be super careful with blending, and I can build them up without having to worry about are they gonna blend out or are they just gonna go really muddy and patchy on me. So I really wish there would have been one darker blue in here just to kind of coordinate with these ones, because if you are going for a monochromatic blue look, I usually have to go into the black instead of a dark blue to kind of deepen it up. And normally I like to go in with like a navy blue. So this doesn't have a darker blue, but I do love the 3 mattes in here, and then the shimmers are also really nice as well. Sugar Pal also has some really nice blue mattes, but also they're very unique in tone, so I feel like you don't really see a lot of shades like this one. It's kind of like a periwinkle sky blue shade, but I really like the other blue shades I have from them as well. Home Sweet Home and Kimchi are 2 of my favorite blues. You don't really see a lot of like kind of periwinkle sky blue shades like this. It's like a baby dusty blue. You do need to build this one up a lot because it is a lighter shade. I've used this one in my Galaxy looks. And then I also have to throw in my Joy Lorraine Cosmetics Paradise palette. I think I've talked about this one in every color video, but the blue in here, I've used in a Get Ready With Me so you can see this one in action, but it's truly one of the most beautiful blue mattes. Again, like the James Charles palette, this one I can build up in pigmentation without having to worry about like, is it still gonna blend or is it just gonna create this nice patch in the middle? But I haven't had any problems thus far working with this formula, so I really enjoy this one a lot. Then on the more affordable side of things, I have this palette from e.l.f. called the Jewel Pop palette. There's a nice like true matte blue shade in here, and I really was not expecting anything actually. I've tried a couple other blue shadows from e.l.f. and they're not bad, but they're not like my favorite thing ever. It's not as great a formula as the James Charles one or any of the other palettes I just mentioned, but I still think it's really nice for the price. It's a $10 palette, and this one I felt like I could build up, and it worked really well as a crease shade. I feel like this is a really underrated colorful palette because it's all mattes. The color shades in here are really nice jewel toned, kind of grindier take on colorful shades. And I've also tried out some palettes lately from C Color Cosmetics. They sent me a lot of their palettes and I've just been testing them out. So they have this palette called the Birthday Wish, which I was actually pleasantly surprised with the quality of the matte blue shades in here, just because it was a cheaper palette. I don't know why, I wasn't really expecting that much. It did have a nice amount of pigmentation to them, which normally shades like this in more affordable palettes can be lacking in just like punch, but these really popped on the eyes. I would say you do have to finesse them a little bit to get them to blend seamlessly, so you might not have a good time with this if you are a beginner at blending, but for a really affordable option, I think this is really nice. And then they also have another palette that I tried. There are 2 very similar like blue shades in here. There's a kind of teal blue and then a darker true blue. Again, pretty much the same quality as these ones. They're really nice, they have a good amount of pigmentation to them, and I felt like the color payoff was just really impressive. My only gripe with these is that they kind of look the same on the eyes, so even though they look kind of radically different in the pan, they just look exactly the same on the eyes. I have a quick little category in between of just blue themed palettes in general. So these are palettes where the color theme is completely centered around blue. So first obviously, Huda Beauty's Sapphire Obsessions is a blue palette.
Wow.
Pretty much all the shades I'm wearing on my eyes right now are from this palette, but I do think you have to work with them. They're not completely effortless, and they're not like something you just have pigmentation immediately with. So the James Charles palette I feel like is a lot easier to get like full color out of these, whereas these ones you have to build them up quite a bit. So I would definitely recommend working with a wet base because they do need a little bit of a wetter base to just bring pigmentation out of them. But once you do that, yeah, they don't feel super soft when you swatch them or anything, but that dryness does help them blend a lot better. And these shadows are made in China, so they're not as good as the quality of Huda's regular palettes, but I still feel like they're very nice. And then the shimmers, I think Huda is like right up there with Pat McGrath in terms of like the shimmer quality. I think her shimmers are some of my favorites. So I really like her little mini Obsessions palettes. They're nice, consolidated mini color stories, and it's super cute, very good for travel. And if you're willing to just kind of work with them a little bit more, I think you'll really enjoy the looks you create. I also have the Colourpop Bretman Rock Wet palette, which is another blue themed palette. And I was really excited about this one because it seems like a very nice cool tone color scheme. There is only one blue matte in here, which I was a little bit disappointed with. I would love for this shimmer shade here to be like a matte. Definitely a wet base or just like a good primer will really help these ones out. But the shimmers do not need any help. Like this shade, I feel like you can just see it in the pan, but it's one of those super foiled, like glitter infused shimmer shades that just looks so wet and beautiful in the eyes. Wet. Pun not intended, but relished. However, since we are talking blue themed palettes, I did try out one earlier in 2018 that I really hated. So I don't have it to show you guys because I got rid of that one stat. After the whole Tarte Icy Betch April Fool's disaster, Face Candy came out with the Atlantis palette, I think. It was just like a response to the Tarte palette. It was pretty much the exact same color scheme. Just a fully blue palette, which was beautiful in theory. The formula was shit. Disgusting! I haven't had any luck with Bad Habit or Face Candy palettes in general. I think they're fine, but I wouldn't pay more than like $10 for them. And that palette just, blue shadows are hard to formulate. They didn't do a good job with it. And I felt like everyone was really excited for that color scheme. So just like doubling down with a really bad palette was not the best thing. And I just didn't like it very much. Bringing it back, the Huda palette has a really nice navy blue in here, and kind of like a central meme on my channel has been my pursuit of finding a really good navy blue shade. Almost every single day I get like a DM, a comment, or like a message on Instagram just saying like, hey, I found a blue shadow for you. It really warms my heart because I've talked about so many times how I love my Morphe 39A, and my favorite shade in here is this navy blue right here called Indigo. It's the best shade of my life. I still think I'm a long ways away of like hitting pan on this one because I don't do blue eye looks all that often, but still, whenever I do a blue eye look, this is my favorite blue shadow in my life. Again, like the James Charles palette, there are 6 blue shades in this huge 39 color palette, but Indigo is the only matte. The shimmers in here are beautiful, and I think you don't really see a lot of navy blue shimmers like this, so really nice, unique blue colors. For a really long time, this navy blue shade here called Indigo was the only dark blue I owned. I love it so much, but I was really scared of like running out of it because I don't want to buy a whole 39 color big ass palette just to replace one shade. And thankfully, I've been able to try quite a few different navy blues over the past couple months. One that I recently found that I'm so excited about is from the Moira Sweet Paradise palette, which I just reviewed on my channel. This was a sneak attack for me because, oh god, I just wasn't expecting to fall in love so hard with this palette I'd never even heard of on Instagram or on YouTube anywhere, but they sent me this palette and I really wasn't expecting that much, but then I opened it up and I saw the colors in here and I was like, holy crap. There's a blue shade in here called Cool Waves. First of all, that name. Yes, but it is the most beautiful navy blue. I still like the Morphe one better. That one just has a hint more purple in it. It just does its job.
With me and do your job.
It also pairs beautifully with the other blue shades in here, and just in general, this colorful palette is my life. There's also a beautiful like blue highlighter as well called Celestial. I really don't know if you can see it, but it's this shade here. So gorgeous. By the way, this is not a swatch, this is a burn, because I can't use a curling iron for life. But yeah, this is one of my new favorite navy blues, and I think I've successfully found some of the best shades in this hunt. I have a little bit of this one on today along with the navy from the Huda palette, but this is from Sorme. It's called the Mineral Botanicals eyeshadow, and I like trying a lot of more natural brands. This is the shade Contrast, and I thought this would be a really good fit for me because it's truly a navy blue.
Wow.
Admittedly, I have not had the best of luck with like more natural brand eyeshadow formulas. I've tried some like all natural super crunchy granola vegan brands that have some really not good eyeshadows, but this one is actually so good. This is very close to the Morphe one. It has a hint of purple in there, and it's very deep as well. So this is probably the like most blackened blue that I have. And if you're not careful with this one, or if you're just blending it, this I love using as a nice deepening shade for blue eye looks, and it's a really good single. I think it is pretty expensive though, and they shipped it in this huge box for a single shadow. I posted it on my Instagram story because I had this like huge box in front of me. I think this was like in a box within a bigger box, and it was a single shadow. This packaging is like pretty sturdy. You could have just put it in like a bubble wrapped envelope and shipped it, but to each their own. Then from the Morphe Jaclyn Hill Dark Magic palette, there's actually this kind of like deep navy blue shade in here called Busted. You're gonna be busted. This is really nice, and I know this palette got a lot of flack because it's one of the darker palettes from the Jaclyn Hill Vault collection. This isn't necessarily a shade I would use all over my eye just because it definitely would get patchy, but just using it on the outer corner to just deepen up the crease or just concentrating it as a smoky liner, it's so beautiful. So I actually really like the shade in here. This has some of my favorite greens as well, and just probably one of the most unique palettes from the fall collections. And then honorable mention from my Ace Beauté Paradise Pollen palette. This is a purple palette, clearly, but there's actually a shade in here called Shadow, and this is kind of like straddling between dark blue and purple, and it's actually pretty similar to the Morphe one because again it has a tiny tinge of purple to it, so I actually did a look with this one using it as like a dark navy blue all over my eye, and I was actually very surprised to how it blended out to be a very nice deepened blue rather than like a true purple shade. Yeah, this is gorgeous. Again, the Ace Beauté Paradise collection is like one of my favorites from last year, and even though this is a bit like deeper and grungier than what I've been reaching for lately, I still think it's really beautiful, and this shade is gorgeous. And now I have a separate category for turquoise because turquoise holds a very special place in my heart.
Turquoise.
And probably my favorite turquoise in my collection is from a palette that has been a staple in the Color series, but this is the BH Take Me Back to Brazil palette. And obviously you are getting quite a few different blue shades in here, especially some nice blue mattes, but my favorite shade in here is definitely this one right here. This is the most beautiful turquoise ever. It's a shade I don't really see a ton of. I think the closest dupe I have for this one would be in the James Charles palette. I don't really have a ton of like bluish greenish shades like this one. It's kind of like a Gumby color. There is also a really nice turquoise in the Jaclyn Hill palette, the original one from Morphe. This is such a ride or die for me, but this one blue shade right down here, this is so gorgeous to blend out other like deeper blue shades. This shade right here is called Jada. Can edge a little bit on the green side, so I feel like it doesn't really match with a lot of other blues I have in my collection, but this paired with the turquoise blue that I just showed you guys from the BH palette, such a beautiful look. I have another palette from C Color Cosmetics. Subtle. Obviously this is a dupe of the Life's a Drag palette, which I haven't actually tried the original version, but there are two beautiful blue shades down here. This one has a tinge of shimmer in there. I don't really like this shade, but this mint greenish turquoise, I really don't own any mint green shades. I feel like it's a shade, again, that since it's a pastel, pastels tend to be very chalky, so a lot of people don't really approach them. But this, I'm really impressed with this one so far. Again, I'm not really sure where I stand on the whole like direct dupe palette. I get that it's a lot better for people who are just looking for affordable options. So I'm not completely sure how I feel about the palette as a whole, but I am sure how I feel about this blue. Country boy, I love you. I haven't mentioned this palette in like a hot second, but this is the A20 Labs I'm a Beach palette. But very similar to the Jaclyn Hill palette, there's this kind of blue matte turquoise shade called Jungle, along with another blue shimmer shade. These are actually really, really nice. So I've done a look with this one, and honestly, the main star of the show for me in this palette is this like yellow here, but the blues, surprisingly very nice, and for a $10 palette, it's beautiful. I just reviewed this one, but this is the turquoise category, so I might as well throw this one in here. Honestly, if I'd gotten this one in time for the green palette review, I would have thrown this in for the green shadows. I would have thrown this into the teal category, but this is the P. Louise Secret Center palette. There is one blue matte shade in here called Affair. It is such a beautiful blue shade. This one can kind of pull more to the navy side than the teal greenish sides, and I feel like this is the quality of the James Charles palette. Chalk is the first ingredient, so that explains why it's very powdery but has a lot of pigmentation to it, so I think the formula of these is nice. And if you want my full review, go ahead and watch the review video, but I really enjoy this one. However, I do have some disappointing blues that I have to mention. This is what's left of my AOA Immersed palette. I attempted to depot some of the shades I actually liked in here. Pretty scary to look at, but there are a few blue shades in here that I tried out, and oh, okay. I managed to create a look with them. It just took a lot of building up, and they were kind of patchy, and they just were not pigmented enough. And it was disappointing because I really, really enjoyed the A20 Labs I'm a Beach palette, but this was not I'm a Beach. This was just I'm a Bitch. And now I know I said that I wanted to keep this video mostly focused on mattes, so that's what I did, but I have a few just like beautiful, truly special blue shimmer shades that I have to mention. My boyfriend. I think there's certain shades where you just look at them in the pan and you just can tell that they're going to be beautiful in the eyes, and this is one of those shades. This is called A Moment, and I have just a moment of like straight up my heart stops whenever I see this color. These shimmers in the Friendcation palette, they have this like wet effect to them because they have like a very small glitter infused particle system going on, so this shade is stunning. The shade down here called Game Over, if you layer it on top of any blue shade, it takes on this like deepened, like dark depths of the ocean, like down where Megalodon exists and the gigantic squid.
What?
I feel like that's this, but pretty. I don't really do like deep black smoky eyes, but when I do, this is gonna be on my eyes. Juvia's Place does some of the best shimmers. I think Pat McGrath, Huda Beauty, and Juvia's Place. 3 best shimmer formulas ever. Berber is one of my favorite colors in my entire collection. And unfortunately, I haven't really tried any like blue matte shades from Juvia's Place. I know there's one in the Magic palette, which I haven't ever gotten my hands on. But I also have the Masquerade Mini. There's some beautiful blue shades in here as well. Again, all shimmers. Kai is this deepened, like kind of purplish, bluish, indigo shimmer shade. These are stunning on the eyes. And I feel like a lot of shimmer formulas, they go on really beautiful, but then throughout the day, they just kind of get dull. These do not do that for me. One of my least favorite blue shimmers is from the Anastasia Prism palette. This is the shade Osiris. I hate this color. It's beautiful in theory. It's like a deep blackish blue shade. It's supposed to look like outer space on my eyes, but instead it just looks like a bruise, a glittery bruise. Like a blue-black duochrome, so that blackness really comes through and just looks super ashy, super muddy on the eyes, and just not
Very nice.
I have to mention the Colourpop My Little Pony palette as well. I really do not know if this is still available. I don't know if they still sell this one, but if they do, these 3 blue shades down here, my big favorite. Especially this kind of like icy white blue shade down here. It's kind of like a duochrome blue ice flip. So this looks beautiful in the inner corner, but also paired with other blue shades. So stunning. So I really enjoyed this one a lot. There's a lot of dimethicone in here, so they're super creamy to the touch and just delightful to work with. And then finally, I gotta mention the blue glitter I'm wearing right now because it is a single blue. This is from Glitter Injections. It's called You Teal Me. It's just this dimensional, super chunky blue glitter. And technically, you're not supposed to use this on your eyes, but I live life on the wild side. So really enjoy this one as well. It's just super like, it brings light to the eyes and just gives your eye look that extra.
What the fuck is that?
Alright guys, so I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the color series. I hope you're excited for future ones, and I hope you're not getting tired of this series because I love it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know down in the comments what are your favorite blue eyeshadows. I really want to buy some more. I know everyone's been telling me to get the Nobble Blue Velvet, which I am definitely going to be buying, and also the Melt Cosmetics new Blueprint deck. The most beautiful palette I've ever seen. So yeah, please let me know what you enjoy. Make sure you are subscribed down below, and also follow me on Instagram to see makeup looks like this one. Posted fairly regularly, and if you made it to the very end of this video, I love you.